morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to our class today. Hello there, you're welcome to my YouTube channel today. Once again, my name is Michael the Valley, and I'm going to be wrapping up the topic on the project management concepts today. If you missed out the last video on this, okay, I would actually advise that you go back to the previous video of this, go through the video on project management concept, because we treated a lot of concepts that are very important, and you don't want to miss out on those concepts. So I would really, as much as possible, advise you to go back to this concept, go back to the video, and go through this concept, get used to them, let them be part of you. And you don't just study because you want to pass an exam, you study because you want to be the best at what you do. Yeah, so this morning we're going to use just a few minutes to breeze over some concepts again to wrap up this topic. So to start off with today, we're going to look at operations and projects. And I remember so well I did mention operations while trying to explain some concepts, especially on project management. So we want to know this morning, we want to know today the importance of difference between operations and projects. Okay, so I want to make this very clear. Okay, operations work can be defined as ongoing work to support the business and system of the organization. So whereas the project work ends when the project is closed. So the very simple difference is that operations, when you hear about operations, we're talking about continuous service, continuous, ongoing. All right, it's a day-to-day activity, repetitive activity that is done and it's ongoing. So that is operations. Whereas project is actually temporary is the keyword, and it's an endeavor that is carried out to achieve a set objective. Now, the diagram here gives you a very simple explanation to the difference between operations and project management. So project management is a temporary duty. Right, so that's why I said in project management we are very particular about time, the schedule, because the schedule will work in line within the timeline to make sure that the set activities, objective plans that have been set down are actually executed within the time frame. So that is a project. So it's temporary and it's unique. It has a unique output and also terminated when objective is achieved. In terms of operation management, it's a day-to-day activities. You go to like today, you're setting out, you're going to the office today, and when you get to the office, I don't know what you are assigned to do, but maybe you are an accountant, you're going to be doing your accounting job. If you're an engineer, you're going to be doing your engineering work. If you are an IT specialist, you're going to be doing your IT specialist work today. Then tomorrow also, tomorrow you also continue the same. Next tomorrow you're doing the same at your office. And you notice so well that what you do, you are actually specialized in what you do, and that is what you do every day. So that is kind of operational. Right? It's an operations management. You don't hope to do this in just 1 minute and then you stop. No, it's something you do. You want to do the whole, the rest of your life, because you are a professional in that aspect of specialty. So that is kind of what you do is operational. So we call it operations. All right. So now we're going to look at another concept in project management, that is governance. Governance. Why am I bringing in governance in project management? Now, I'm going to just, in a very simple time, I'm going to explain this. We're bringing in governance because we don't want things to be done anyhow while managing our projects. And you will quite agree with me that without governance, there's going to be chaos. All right, without the governance in the system, in the country, in anywhere, it's going to be a very chaotic system. So that is why governance is very important. So as much as possible, it's not just for the country, it's not just for the states, it's not just for the local government. We want to take down governance. We want to make sure that we introduce governance in every circle in the organization, even in your family. You want to have family governance. And the essence of that is to make sure that the level of decency, there's a kind of a level of a system of decency being introduced, a system of discipline being injected into the system to make sure that everyone works with that discipline mentality to be able to do what we want to do, but to achieve the set objective. That is the essence of governance. So also, governance, every organization is different though, and governance is designed to support the specific culture and attributes of the organization. All right, so you introduce governance to be able to support the culture of the organization, the attributes of the organization. You don't want the culture of the organization to be messed up. You don't want the norms, the normal way of doing things, the drive, the discipline, organizational discipline and principles to be tampered with. So for this reason, you want to introduce governance. You want to make sure that there are people overseeing the process, there is supervision process, there is a constant and oversight over everything that is going on. So that is the essence of governance. So the system of rules, practices, and processes by which a firm is directed and controlled is what is called governance. So now, going down to organization now, not government, but organization to the organization, organizational governance, and this refers to the overall structure of an organization. So if you're preparing to write your PMP exam, your CAPM exam, or you're a practicing professional, maybe you've been working, but you didn't know that within your organization, there is a governance system. You need to understand this now, that there is a system of organization, of governance in your organization, and it involves setting the policies and procedures for how work will be performed to meet strategic goals and to support organizational operations and decision making. So if you get your eyes off the strategic goals of the organization, then I think everything you do will not be beneficial to the organization. That is the essence of having a governance system introduced in your organization. Now we're driving it down to the project from the organization. Most, from the organization, you know so well that, it's the organization that actually champions the project. They are the initiators of the project vision, and they have actually initiated the projects, maybe one or two or three or many projects under the organization. So apart from the organizational governance, we also want to introduce governance in our project management. But one thing that is key and very important that you need to bring up here is that the project governance must be in alignment with the organizational governance. And the essence of the project governance is to make sure that you don't go off track in terms of aligning with the strategic vision, strategic goals of the organization. So that is why you as a project manager, with an eye that is more a kind of that could see farther than every other person in that project, you should be able to be looking at the organizational vision and the strategic goals of the organization, and you want to make sure that your project is in line with the objectives set by your organization. Therefore, it is the responsibility, the duty of the project managers to determine their project governance so that the project is in agreement with organizational governance. So the governance approach depends on the development approach being used. All right. So every organization decides depending on their nature of production. Okay, it could be an IT organization, it could be a construction industry, it could be a finance industry, it could be whatever it is, but depending on what the organization does, the system of development approach is different based on what the organization does. For instance, if it's a construction industry, their system of development approach might just be more of predictive approach or the hybrid approach. Okay, and then also if it's an IT industry, most times it could be an agile system of development. All right, so it all depends on the system of development that wants to be adopted in the project. Okay, but you must understand that there has to be a governance system introduced in your project. It's very important. So now the diagram we have here explains the system of project governance. All right, so at the highest level we have the project management. The project management, most times we have the PMO, the project management office. If you followed me in the previous video, I did mention and explain to details what a project management office is, and it's an office that is actually a kind of given the responsibility to take care of every project work. And we have different types of project management offices that, like we actually did explain in the last people. Okay, so the project management level, tries to, this is where we employ our skills, our project management skills, strategies, and we apply them. Okay, we put them into place so that we can be able to achieve set objectives without a kind of shifting away from the set vision that we put in place by the organization. So we have the project manager and support teams that support project teams. Then we have project coordinator. Right. So at that level, if you go down the level into you see the project supervision level, where in the first activity you have the quality assurance, in the second activity you have the project leader. Okay, so the quality assurance is to make sure that you're actually going in line with the set quality requirements that have been stipulated for this project. You're not going off the quality requirement, you're going in line with the quality requirement. Then at the project leader, you see that there's a leader that is actually over the project, and the SA is to carry out oversight function and to make sure that there's proper supervision, to make sure that everything is going in line with the innovation that is set for this project. And also, this is internal. We also have external advisory bodies. Want to make sure that as much as possible from every quarter and at every spectrum, we want to make sure that we get people from everywhere to look at this project and see, follow us so that we don't get things wrong. That's the essence of governance. So while everyone is working, you have it in mind that, okay, this is being, you have an eye on the project. Okay, from the higher management, you have an eye from the higher management on this project. And for this reason, we must make sure we actually execute our project in the right manner to avoid going back or making errors or to avoid wastages. So that is the essence of project governance. Now, we're going to look at another concept in project management. It's a very important concept, not just in project management, but in operations management. And that concept is organizational structure, the concept of organizational structure. And you as a professional should be able to understand this concept so well. And also, you're writing your PMPs, you're preparing for your PMPs, and you need to also understand this so well. One of the primary points of influence on projects is how the company is organized. Yes, the organizational structure. Okay, so this defines the organizational structure, defines the functional heads and reporting formats in an organization. If you are in any organization, you want to know who is your boss. Who do I report to? I want to know also the organizational channel of communication. How can I communicate? Can I just go to anybody? Can I report to anybody? Can I send my mails to anybody? All the issues in the department, can I easily transmit it to other departments? So you need to understand that there is a channel of communication in any organization, and it's called, that's one beauty of the organizational structure. And also, the powers of the project manager is also defined in the organizational structure. Very soon, we're going to be looking at different types of organizational structure, and we're going to be looking at the functional, we're going to be looking at the projectized, and also the matrix organizational structure that will help us to kind of enrich our knowledge in our practices. It's going to enrich our knowledge in our professional practices, and also it's going to help us so that when we get to organizations, we don't look so strange or we are not confused or lost, but we understand the principles. You need to be confident. You get to an organization, you understand so well that there is a structure in every organization. And when you get to any organization, the first thing you seek out for is your organizational structure. You want to know the flow of information, the reporting format. You want to know the powers of the project manager. Are you working as a full-blown project manager, or are you working as just a project coordinator or a project expeditor? Okay, so organizational structure types. Now, the first we're going to look at is the functional organizational structure. Functional organizational structure. Okay, this is a common organizational structure. In this type, departments are grouped into areas of specialization. So the key word there is specialization. In this type of organizational structure, departments are broken down. You break down the works into departments. Right? You have the accounting department. I don't need to tell you what they do. They are in charge of fund management, accountability, expenses, expenditures, management, cash flows, and everything, revenue generation, and all that. These guys are in charge. So it's a department, and they are specialized in doing that. The marketing department. Okay. I also don't need to say much about what they do. It's their duty to make sure that they market the product. All right. They want to market the organization. They want to market the product. They want to look at customer, feedback and analyze the feedback and look at the market situation. All right. They're in charge of, competing factors in the market, and they want to see how they can actually plan a program for the organization that will help the organizations to still be competing in years to come. So, and also to be in business in years to come. So that is what the marketing department does. And also we have the manufacturing department. They are specialized in manufacturing, but it's one organization with different departments. So when you find such organization, we call it a functional organization. Now, this organization, I'm going to explain with the diagram here. We'll have a diagram here. All right, so this organization, okay, this functional organization have different managers. You have the sales manager for the sales department, administrative manager for the admin department, production manager, finance manager, accounts manager. Then under them, they have subordinates working under them. All right, so the flow in information goes horizontally. If a manager needs anything from any department, he goes to the head of the management, the head of that department. It doesn't go to any staff. It doesn't go to the staff in that department. If it's wrong for the manager to go to the staff of the department and issue out orders, it's very wrong. Okay, so the right thing to do is that if you need anything from any department, you go straight to the head of the department, and the head of the department will issue out the instruction under his department to anybody under him or his subordinate to carry out the instruction. That is the flow of information. That's like the channel of information in a functional organization. And you have the CEO above them. All right, so the CEO is right above them. Then you have other managers at a horizontal level. Then you have the subordinates under them. So this is a functional department. Then you have the projectized, or you call it the project-oriented organizational structure. In this type of organizational structure, the entire company is organized by projects. All right, the project manager has total control of the project and assigned personnel report to him. Okay, so we have a diagram also. I'm going to use a diagram to explain this. You have the projectized organizational structure here. You can see the executive officer right above the managers. Then right beneath him, you have in the project A, project manager A, project manager B, project manager C. Then you have project staffs under them. But the thing about this is that it's not like a functional organization. In this case, the project managers are in charge of the finance, they're in charge of customer relations, they're in charge of, resource management, human resource, material resource management, and all that. They're in charge of all that, and they just do everything themselves. Okay, it's not like the other one. So there is less specialization here because it's just all about a project. It's a project-oriented organization. Okay, so we call it a projectized organizational structure. So you as a project manager as well, if you're in an organization, you need to look at the organizational structure. So if you see it this way, you know that yes, the powers of the project manager is very high. Okay, you have access to fund, you can make your decision, make your plan, and it's so flexible for you. And I want to say that for the project managers, every project manager will be very interested and very happy to work in an organization like this because you control the fund, you are in charge of the personnel, you don't have to stress yourself. You want to conduct employment, and you have to go to the human resource management, how's it going to be, and the person will tell you that, okay, you have to wait for the next 1 week. It's going to affect your work and your plan. But in this case, you can just go ahead. It's so flexible for you to conduct employment. It's so flexible. You want to get necessary equipment. You want to obtain the fund. You have the fund already. Just go ahead with the project. So it's actually a projectized organizational structure. Then we have the third one there. The third one is the matrix organizational structure. The matrix. The very simple thing about this is that the matrix is a combination. Okay, it's a combination of the functional organizational structure and the projectized organizational structure. Just a combination of that. in this type of organizational structure, team members report to two managers, the project manager and the functional manager. So the project manager and the functional manager. So communication goes from team members to both managers. It's unlike the functional where communication has to go from team member to the head of the department, or in the project where it has to go from team member to the project manager. But in this case, communication will have to go from the team member to either the functional manager or the project manager. Now we begin to ask ourselves, how would it be, for them to manage the power control? All right, so we don't just leave it that way, because if you leave it this way, where you have two bosses, there will always be a problem. If you have two bosses in an organization, you will agree with me, there will definitely be a problem. So for this reason, you want to see how you can clearly define your policies in an organization to avoid crisis. Okay, so this brings us to different types of matrix organization. We have what we call the strong matrix and the weak matrix organizational structure. These things are built into the policies of the organization so that everything can be clearly defined. Okay, is built into the policies of an organization. I'm just going to explain that again. We have also I'm coming to that though. On the weak matrix or the strong matrix organizational structure, we have that. But let's look at this. We have this diagram here that explains matrix organizational structure. You can see the CEO. Okay, then after the CEO, you're having the functional managers. Then right by your left side of the diagram, you're going to see the project manager A and project manager B. And if you look at if you notice so well, you see that the functional managers and the project managers are bold. Okay, they are on bold fonts, and it's telling you that these are the managers and the head of the departments. Okay, so you can see that we're having two bosses now. We have the functional managers ahead and have the project managers by the left side. Okay, so the team members are answerable to the functional managers and also the project managers. So they are answerable to both the functional and the project manager. But now the question now is this: how do we define the strengths of the functional and the project manager? Okay, so the very simple thing is this: in the policies of the organization, you have to specify the powers of the project manager. At some point, you see that project managers in a matrix organization have more power. They're given more powers, more rights over finance, over resource management, over human resource, material resource management, over project control. They're given more rights than the functional manager. So when you come across such a matrix organization, you call it a strong matrix organization. But when the functional managers have more rights, than the project managers in a matrix organization, that means they can exert more control over the project team, then you can say that it's a weak matrix organization. All right, so when you hear about a strong matrix organization, it is favorable to the project managers. But when you hear about a weak matrix organization, it is not favorable to the project manager, but it is favorable to the functional managers. Again, I want to make it very clear. When you hear the word functional managers, we simply talk about what? The head of sections, head of departments, head of specialized department. Okay, the head of production, the head of sales, the head of marketing, and all that. So these are functional managers. Okay, so now I talked about this in a strong matrix, power rests with the project manager. In a weak matrix, power rests with the functional manager, and the power of the project manager is comparable to that of a coordinator or an expeditor. So you as a project manager, if you're working in a weak matrix organization, you cannot, call yourself a project manager. Sorry to say that, but that's just how it is. You can't say you're a full-blown project manager in that organization, but you can be seen as a project coordinator. So if you are employed as a project manager, then you go through the organizational structure of your organization, and you find out that they are operating a weak matrix organization where the functional managers are given more powers than the project managers. So you can't see yourself as a project manager per se, or you can see yourself, you can be said to be a project coordinator or a project expeditor. So a project coordinator have less powers, less control over the project team. What you do is that you just provide advice, you just play advisory role You can provide templates. You can give feedback to the management, the upper management. You go through the project, you observe, then you take it back, you report back to the upper management, but you cannot exert control over the project team. But for the project editor, you have some level of control. Okay, you can actually enforce some policies. All right, in the project, you also provide templates, you play an advisory role, or you cannot supervise the project fully. All right, so you're just like an intermediary. You report back, you just train. You can conduct training for the project team. Also, you're just an expeditor, but you're not a full-blown project manager, because power rests mainly in the hand of the functional manager. So this is a weak matrix organization. So but we also have the balanced matrix organization. Here, the power is shared between the functional manager and project manager. So it's clearly defined here. Now, in this case, you can say there's a 50-50 power sharing between the project manager and the functional managers. So these are two bosses with the same rights. So the project manager is just at the same level with the functional manager, the head of department. In this case, what is very important is that collaboration is very important. If you need anything, you have to go straight to the functional manager. You sit down with him and make him understand that this is your project. This is your timeline. You need to finish up this project from now to this time. And as much as possible, you will need him to run along with you. But whatever you need, if you need employment, if you need to employ some human resource, you need to if you need to employ human resources, you can talk to me that I need some people, I need some professionals between now and next week that can help me handle this project. Okay, so if you need an equipment, you can go to the material manager or equipment manager, or whatever, or the resource manager. Then you tell them that, okay, I need material resources, I need an equipment, an excavator, I need this, I need computers that would help me, because with this I need to settle this particular issue in my project between now and next week. So I would need to have this computer next week, Friday. Okay, so you collaborate with the functional manager, and he's going to tell you that, okay, don't worry, I'm going to arrange for this, and then I'll let you know. Okay, then also you keep in check with him. So if you need any other thing, or it could be a maintenance in your project, something broke down, then you can go straight to the maintenance section and talk to the head of maintenance and tell him that, okay, I have an broken down equipment, and I need you to help me sort this out. So it's kind of a collaborative relationship between the project manager and the functional manager. Yes. So now, project management processes. We have processes in project management. Okay, and you're going to be seeing more of inputs and outputs as you go through your project management processes. Now, I'm going to show you a chart after this. We have a chart, and that chart is telling us that we have 5 process groups, and we have 10 basic knowledge areas. Then we have 49 knowledge areas altogether, but we have 10 basic knowledge areas, ranging from the projects, from the integration, the scope, the schedule, the cost, and the rest of them, going down to the stakeholders. So you, as a project manager, will need to understand these processes. Like, you need to know them from the beginning till the end of the processes. You need to know what comes before what. It tells you the processes you go through in establishing your project from initiation to the completion of the project. So you, as a project manager should be able to confidently advise somebody on what the person should do. Okay, maybe somebody is trying to come up with a project. You should be able to sit down and advise the person what he should do from the beginning till the end. And that is the essence of the process. You're going through a different process. You're going to start from project ideation stage, where you initiate the project. You do some analysis. You look at the cost-benefit analysis. You look at the return on investment on this project. You look at the benefits in this project. You consider your benefit management plan. You do a feasibility study on that project, and finally you come up with the pre-initiation stage of the project, and then you talk about your project charter, right, where you come up with your project charter. And then once you're done with that, you can kick off with the project management plan, where you go through all the processes, you consider all the elements in the project management plan. Then from there, once you're done with your plan, you should be able to tell them that once you're done with your plan, then you can go straight to execution. And while you are in the execution stage of your project, You are also expected to monitor every single phase of the execution. Okay, and then finally you come to the end of the project. So these processes should be handy with you, as in you should understand these processes from the beginning of it to the end of it. The essence of that is that it's going to help you in your PMP exam, and also it's going to help you in your professional practice. So the inputs, when you come across inputs in project management, maybe in your exam, the input is talking about what you need to carry out the phase of a process in the project management process. What do I need? For instance, I want to design a project charter. What do I need? That is the input. Then the output of this is the outcome. What will I have after this process? Okay, so the input are what you need in order to complete the process. Then output or outcome are what you have when it is completed. So input and output are logical and should not require memorization if you have a good understanding of the actions involved in each of the project knowledge areas. Okay, each of the knowledge areas. So most times people want to memorize the table. I'm going to show you a table, and most times people want to memorize it. You don't need to memorize the table. It's a very logical process. When you wake up in the morning, what do you do first? You want to brush your teeth, so you don't need to memorize it. It's a normal thing. It's just a normal thing. Then you brush your teeth, after that, take your weights, and you go ahead and do all that. So it's not something you memorize. It should be something that flows. It should be like a normal thing for you. All right. So I'm going to show you the table. So this is the project management process group table, and you have just horizontally overhead the table. You're going to see the throughout from the initiation to the closing. All right. We have the initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and then closing of the project. And these 5 processes are called the process groups. The process group, they are the process groups. When you hear about the process group in project management, we're talking about these 5 groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and control, and then closing. Then right by the left side from up to down, you have what we call the knowledge areas. The knowledge areas. Okay, then within the table also, what we have there is just the knowledge area also. All right, so but we have basic knowledge areas. Then when you put everything together, we have 49 knowledge areas. Okay, so now the basic knowledge areas we have there are the ones in color, different colors. You can see ranging from integration, project integration management, project scope management, project time management. Time management is the same thing as project schedule management. We have the project cost management, the project quality management, project human resource management. Previously, we were looking at it as human resource management, but presently, due to a lot of inventions, innovations, and all that, we're not just looking at human resource management now. We now see that we can go beyond just human resource. We have material resource management. So we're taking all the human resource and we're putting project resource management. And when we see project resource management, we're looking at both human resource management and material resource management. Okay. Then we also have project communication management, project risk management, project procurement management, project stakeholder management. I'm going to pick up these topics one after the other and treat them. So that is why I want you to follow this YouTube video. If you're writing your exam, you're preparing for your exam, you're a practicing professional, you need to know all this. Maybe you've been managing projects and you don't know about the skills, these principles. I want you to follow my YouTube videos, and if you want to be getting more of this video, just hit the like button and drop a comment if you don't understand anything, and I'll attend to you. Yes. So this is the process, project management process groups table, and you need to know this like the back of your hand. You need to know this. Yes. Now, finally, before we wrap up in today's video, I'm going to look at the environment at which a project exists. The environment, okay, at which the project exists. And when I talk about the environment, I want to look at some factors that can actually affect my projects. You want to know, are there factors that can affect your project? The first thing we look at there is what we call the OPA. OPAs. The meaning is organizational process assets. Okay, organizational process assets. So most organizations maintain two types of OPAs, right? We have the number one is process, procedures, and policies. Second thing is organizational knowledge repositories. Now, if you are employed into an organization as a project manager and you're given a project, all you need is not just you don't just need the design of the project or maybe the drawings and everything. You need some basic things. You need to know about the OPAs of the organization. You need to know about the processes of execution in that organization. You need to know about the procedures, how things are done. You need to know about the set down policies in that organization. That makes you a professional. And secondly, you need to know about organizational knowledge repositories. For instance, you are a project manager and you're given a building project and you are asked to go ahead with the building project. All right. So now you need a lot of things. You need to make some plans. First thing, in the organizational knowledge repository, you need to visit, it's like an archive. All right. Archive containing information from past or previous projects. Okay. And in that archive, there could be projects similar to the one you are about to handle right now. So it's wise for you to ask questions, go back to the archives, right, and figure out, because it's advisable that in every project you want to manage knowledge. You want to make sure that everything done in projects are clearly and fully documented for future use. So every organization should do this. It's very important. And the essence of it is going to help us handle, it's going to save us stress, save us time, save us fun and everything in handling future projects. So you as a new project manager can go back to the organizational knowledge repositories and make reference to past projects. You'll see if there are projects that are similar to yours. Right there, you're going to find universal measures. Right there, you're going to find templates. You're going to see a lot of things that you need for your work breakdown structure, for your costing. You're going to see a lot of formats that you need there. Instead of breaking your head, stressing yourself, trying to start all over again and wasting time, you can just leverage from the previous knowledge and then establish a kind of a system of control and operation for yourself. It saves you a lot of time. So that's what we call OPAs. And also, we have the second one, okay, an explanation to the OPAs here. We have the breakdown here. The OPAs are divided into two. I can group them into two. The processes, policies, and procedures, like we saw, and then the corporate knowledge base. Okay, so in the process, policies, and procedures, we have the policies of the organization. You need to know the policies, the rules of the organization. Otherwise, if you break the rules, you're going to be in trouble. So you want to make sure that you play by the rules. Then the procedures are followed. Then you have all the templates that you need for your project, and then also the guidelines. There are guidelines that will help you. You can find that in your OPAs. Then also the corporate knowledge base, you have the risk register, And the risk register is actually a list of the risk from previous projects, because you have to do your risk analysis in a project. So every project risk, management process is documented for future use. You have to fall back to that and figure out how do they manage risk in this organization. You look at it and say, okay, the first thing they did was that they have to itemize all the assumed risk in the project, and then they prioritize, and then they did their qualitative analysis, then they did their quantitative analysis, okay, and then they were able to come up with their risk responses and all that. So all these items and processes are itemized in the risk register. You can see all that. Then you have the lessons learned from previous projects. Okay, so you have the lessons learned from previous projects. You can actually go back, look at the lessons learned, mistakes that were made, things that they would have done right, but they got it wrong, and they documented it, and so that you can learn from that and get it right in your project. So that's the essence of the lessons learned. Then you have the past project files. You can go through the past project files. If you want to build a duplex, then you go through. While going through, you find a similar project, very similar to yours. You can make a reference. You can take a lot of things from there, and learn a lot of things from there, and make things easy for yourself. Then you have historical information. You can get historical information right from there also. Okay, they can get information about the amount of materials in the past, the 2020, 1991 reinforcement of 2000, year 12, maybe 2000, the reinforcement was, now rose to 2005, and in the year 2023 now, you're having reinforcement at this level. So you're able to kind of make reference to historical information. It will help you to make your plans in your project. So that is the beauty of organizational process assets. Then the second part of it is what we call the EEFs, which is called the enterprise environmental factors. Enterprise environmental factors. Now, the EEF are similar to organizational process assets as they provide context within to plan the project. However, enterprise environmental factors are generally outside the context of the project team. They are outside the context of the project team. You need to be sensitive to your project's performing organization. Okay, the performing organization that owns your project. You need to be sensitive to that performing organization, and also you need to be sensitive to the external environment of your project. When I mean external environment, we're talking about government, the states. Maybe your project is going on at the Niger Delta, for instance. Are there crisis issues? What are the policies? What is the price of material in the market? Okay. You have to look at the development control policies in your area, and it's coming from the government. You have to look at the tax issues. Are there tax that have been placed on development projects? Okay, you have to look at effects of the project on the surrounding community. Is it going to affect them, their system of living? Is it going to change their life negatively or affect them negatively? You want to look at all these things. So that is your EEF. You're considering all this stuff. Okay, so in the EEF, we have the internal and external EEF. Okay, when we talk about government policy that applies to the performing organization, that is the external EEF. When I say government policy, I talked about development policy, and many other things, public holidays, for instance. Okay, so if you have public holidays and you have made your schedule in your project, definitely it will affect one of the days. So you have to consider that as well. If there are public holidays, you have to factor that into your scheduling, project scheduling. Right? If there's crisis, you also have to consider that. Economic issues in the country, you have to put that into consideration. Then you have internal EEFs as well. Internal enterprise environmental factors. This includes the structure of the organization, the culture of the organization. I'm talking of the performing organization, the systems of your performing organization, the geographic location of your organization. All these things are the internal, enterprise and environmental factors that you need to put into consideration as you carry on with your project. Then finally, I'll use this diagram to wrap up the lesson today. Yes, this diagram here is showing us it's a combination of EEFs and the OPs, and it's giving you a clear breakdown of everything you need to know about your EEFs. For the EEF, this diagram breaks down this into external and internal. Then the OPs, you have the process, policies, and procedures, and the corporate knowledge base. So for the EEFs now, enterprise environmental factors now, the external enterprise environmental factors will have political situation. You have to look at the political terrain of your project environment, and also competitors in the market. You have to consider that these are external. Now, for instance, you want to develop an iPhone and you're looking at them, are there competitors? If I roll out this iPhone next week, I'm expecting to make this amount of sales. But what if somebody rolls out something better than this? It's going to drop it's going to affect my plan. You're going to consider that as well. So you can then regulatory requirements by the regulatory boards. Okay, are there things you need to obtain permission, you need to obtain and everything, geographical location, security and safety issues, industry standards, and benchmarks. You have to consider that these are external to the projects. Okay, and then we have internal EEFs that are internal to the organization. We have organizational culture, we have organizational structure, like we already explained. The culture and the structure of the organization has a way to affect the project, and also resource availability. Okay, so if you have a project and you don't have enough resources, like you don't have enough human resources or material resources for that project, it's going to affect your project. So you're going to look at that. Employee productivity and capability. Maybe you look at the staff you have, they are not technically sound. Okay, and they cannot handle this, it's going to affect your project. Financial health of the organization. If you have a plan and project and then the organization is not financially capable to handle that project, it's also going to affect your project. Then IT readiness of the organization. Some projects require high level IT, and knowledge, and then it could be that the organization has not gotten to that level in terms of the IT knowledge. So you have to also evaluate and look at that and say, no, we've not gotten to this level. We can't handle this project, or we've not gotten to this level. I think we need to employ external hands to man this project. Then policies and power centers of organization. You have to look at the policies of the organization. We talked about the different, type of organizational structures. I would say that we have the projectile, we have the functional, we have the matrix and all that, the policies that are made. Okay, the power centers, what rights do you have as a project manager? You look at all that. Who are the people that matters in the organization? Okay, you have to look at, because these people they have a way to influence the project, either negatively or positively. So you have to put that into consideration. So all this are actually part of your enterprise environmental factors. So before you jump into your project, it's very important that you sit back and do all this analysis. I want to believe that we've learned a lot today. Yes, and I want to believe that you followed from the first video on project management concept to this second video in this same concept. And I'm hoping that in the next class, in the next lesson, we're going to be looking at the project initiation. How can you initiate your project? What are the initiation processes that you need to go through in your project? And what are the procedures, the documents, necessary documents that you need, and what is what? So we need to know about that in the next lesson. So you followed me in this video, you've enjoyed the video, you're actually learning, and you're preparing for your PMP exam, and you want to learn more, you want to keep up with these lessons. I want you to just hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, subscribe in the video, and then so that whenever I drop the videos, you get them immediately. I really appreciate your presence. I really appreciate your patience. I really appreciate your resiliency. You've come this far and you're still going on. And I wish you all the best in your professional practice and life. And I also wish you all the best for those who are writing their PMP exams, writing their CAPM exam. I am wishing you all the best. My name is Uchenna Mike Bali. I'm so glad you stayed till this time, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much. God bless you.